Since this is AI, I would just like to say like my one, I guess, AI win this week, or my biggest AI win this week. So Joe might remember this from last year. We had kind of this in Seed System solution. They have the ability to split up a line, basically like a sales line, and they have to assign multiple growers out. So they have to do, so in the corn and soybean worlds, they have to report who actually grew the seed in the ground. So not just who it was sold to, but like who grew it. But sometimes they'll sell the dealers at the beginning of the year, and then they don't know that grower information till later. So they have the ability to take, let's say, 1,000 units that were out there and split it 100 different times to multiple different growers that might grow that seed. And there was kind of a silent error that was happening, and it would change the quantity on that existing line. But then if it ended up like record locking later on or running into an error, it wasn't reverting the original line back. And the new, so it was going from like 1,000 units out there to 10 units. And now the invoice will reflect those 10 units and inventory will reflect those 10 units, but that company is essentially out those 900 units getting billed out. And then trying to figure out why they have 900 more units in inventory than they thought they had in inventory. And so we had kind of looked into it last year, but didn't really find all of the pieces that we needed. And so I posed that to Claude last week and said, hey, this is happening. Here's exactly what's going on. And Claude helps me find, I just had to really change one main script and then a second script, but it helps me with record error trapping, the whole thing, catching the errors coming in from the other script, finding like a latent error code that was causing the break, and how to change that, as well as posing multiple dialog boxes for errors happening. So like if it couldn't revert things back, to then get those, to notify the user that they needed to do some manual updating, and then to also give me testing scenarios and helping like script testing into it, so I could test that all the error trapping that we were doing was correct at the same point, and going through those test scenarios. So it took me most of the week to get it done, but I was really proud to get that all programmed in and copied over, and hopefully now I have less auditing I have to do in those files this
Right
week.
on. Yeah, wow. It's awesome. And did you just use the Claude in the browser? Like just the normal
The
chat?
app.
Oh yeah,
Cowork.
Yep. Cool.
Yeah, I just used Claude Cowork. I kind of bounced back and forth a bit between my account and the Portage Bay account as
same.
token limits
Yep.
happened. But they gave me a great document that I could just then kind of move over to the other version and continue on if I needed to.
Really? Oh, that's
Yeah,
nice.
it how I have it, because I like to be able to read it and then type it in, and the XML kind of confuses me sometimes. Right. And it's helping me just understand the script more. And so it like kicks out all the changes for me into a text document that then I can also upload to the task and have that list of all the changes that were made in the task.
Excellent.
And then I typically copied the script back in after I was done, and I was like, can you just confirm I got all the changes that you told me to make?
Oh, that's a good idea.
And then I'll be like, yeah. Sometimes it'll be like, you spelled this comment wrong, but it doesn't really matter. So no, I was super excited. It was a big kind of mental load off to have that done.
Yeah, very cool.
As you're talking about the AI and you're talking about using it to write the code, the one XML parser piece that I had added and shared the GitHub for, and I can share that again. I was adding on a piece there because it'll like review code, right, for your scripts and give you like recommend this, recommend that. Well, I'm sure there's much better products out there that somebody has already built, and we've seen some pretty cool ones that that people are trying to sell. But having it just go ahead, because it understands the DDR, since you've got the XML for that file.
Yeah.
That it understanding that, you can tell it to do things like exactly like you're saying, and then it has reference, and then when it builds the script, have it automatically generated into an HTML page that you can review it all. You can hit the copy button to copy it to XML and then just paste it in, so you don't have to retype all of the information. Anyway.
So I looked at your GitHub and got lost, Zandon. I'm not gonna lie, just even getting to downloading the pieces. So
Oh, yeah, no, you don't download anything. You just tell Claude, you say, hey, I want to implement this skill, and just give it the link to the to GitHub. That's it.
okay.
That's it. You don't overthink it. That's, you know, the easier, and that's sort of actually the general context going forward, even with websites and interaction, is we have all this friction that's created to be able to go to a place and look for something and yada yada yada. And realistically, you just tell AI to do something, and if AI can just go there and do it, like, you don't have to do anything. And so they're making sites and forms and interaction that are AI friendly, so the AI can do it, so you don't even have to bother. Like, you know, you can just ask it a question, it can go gather the information, you know, it could do it on your behalf. So that's sort of like the next current phase that I've seen a lot of reference for AI use in, is building websites that are, and different tooling that automatically makes it really easy for AI to interact with, so that your agents on the back end can take care of your tasks for you. So you don't need to bother going to, you know, the Department of Licensing and finding out XYZ information, right? You just tell AI, say, what do I need to do for my registration? And it can go and it can say, oh, I went ahead and got there, I filled out your information for you with your credentials, and, you know, all you got to do is approve the payment and you're good to go. You know, like, that's sort of what the future that we're like, it feels like we're going towards right now. Who knows what's going to be next year, but
Right.
but in the same sense, like pulling a GitHub repo, you don't need to know anything about GitHub. You just say, hey, could you add this skill, put the link to the GitHub repo in, and that's it. Or you don't even just, can you research this and add it so that I can use it regularly in my Claude account? You know,
So
any variation thereof.
Still put the DDR XML in your like
So then
co-work folder, and then just tell it to use that field?
Yeah, when I do the DDR, I do, you know, save as XML, right? And I create a folder in, you know, in a client folder, so that I can always know where it's at, and I save the DDR in there. And then when I open up Claude Cowork, I select that folder as the folder to reference, and then I do, you know, and then you can do /FM, and it'll automatically show you if you've got the skills loaded, like the 3 different skills. So you can select the setup one. And the setup takes just a couple of minutes, but it'll run through all the XML, index it, create an SQLite reference to all of the tables and everything, so that it can work really more quickly without having to waste a bunch of extra tokens. And then, you know, then you can do code review on any script you want. You can do an exhaustive code review, but I wouldn't recommend that. I would cherry pick your code review. But and you could ask it questions. You could say, hey, client said this, what do you think? And, you know, if nothing else, it's going to give you a little bit deeper, like, review than just going in and looking for it. So, you know, if I'm like looking at a layout and I go to a layout and the client's saying, oh, I clicked this button and something happened, right? You could just give it that layout and say, Claude, hey, client says when he goes to this layout, it does X, Y, Z. How do I fix this? And then it turns away for a moment and says, oh, I found these buttons. It's probably what this is going. It's probably, you know, this problem. And, you know, you're still going to have to, you're still the sort of the human who has to overlook it and see, like, was it right? Was it wrong? But it's giving you a whole lot more reference than you would have had just blindly going into it. So
for sure. I would have never known where to go or start, like, to even begin to try an error trap or figure out what was going on before.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
So I'm going to update it so that it'll give you another command, which will be like generate a script, and that way you could just say, hey, do this, generate this script, and tell it what you want the script to do. Once I push that up to the GitHub, I'll let you know, and then in the same way, you just say, hey, Claude, here's the GitHub repo. I've already installed this. Can you update it to the current? And it'll update the skill for you. So it's like even lightweight, easy to bring things current as you make changes and so on and so forth. Like, you know, it's just a conversation. So the friction should be really low. That's what we want, is that really low friction, not hard to do. And don't overthink it.
Thank you. Cause I was, very, I was like, I don't even know where to begin with using Wadzanda. I'm like, it looks awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, like, I don't know where to begin with it. So I will try and test out a little more this week. I haven't had time in my schedule, but
I keep finding it, like, even when I'm doing something, you know, just like, oh, I've got to start this new script and it needs to go and I need to create this, a portal and this and that, you know, and I'm like, all right, I mean, I know I could do it all from scratch, right? I know how to do all that, all the pieces, outline it, do the pseudocode, yada, yada. But wouldn't it just be so much easier if I could just point AI had reference to everything and I could just tell it, like, could you build this script or this structure? And then it could just do it. And then you just, you know, it'll tell you like, oh, you're going to add this button to the layout. You're going to put this on it, put the variable that here in there, put this calculation in a field, you know, and like, hopefully someday we won't actually have to do any of those things, but, you know, and then paste the scripts in. And it works really smooth for new stuff. And for stuff that's existing, that's where the code review part comes in. So you could say, hey, here's the existing script, give it the script name, and say, I need to, you know, there's a bug, or I need to adjust something, or I need to add error correction on it, and then it can rewrite it and it can give you snippets to either paste in, or you can do the entire refresh and so on and so forth. So anyway, yeah, it's the in between, right?
I'll definitely play around with that. Yes.
Yeah, it's the in between right now. Like, we're still manually in there, like having to do but you know, like, I don't know, maybe next year you won't even be involved in that whole process. You just be like, oh, hey, I got this FileMaker file and the customer says this. What do we need to do? And it'll be like, okay, I went ahead and corrected it, tested, you know?
Right.